Woo! It is hot. What's up guys, Richard here. I just graduated from NYU and while I could be applying to jobs right now, I've always wanted to make this video about how I got into NYU in the first place. And check out my Stern shirt. I do not go to Stern, I actually got this from a friend. But I went to the Tandon School of Engineering and I majored in computer science. And if you want to know what colleges I applied to, I actually made a college decision reactions video and you can check it out over there. Before we dive into my Common App, I think I should mention two things. The first thing is that I did not get into NYU straight out of high school. I actually went to another university and then transferred into NYU. Even though that's a little bit different from your typical high school path, both paths are essentially the same. I had to still go through the Common App. And the second thing I want to mention is that I actually applied to NYU twice, once during my sophomore year of college and once during my junior year of college. I was rejected the first time but accepted the second time. So I kind of know where the border lies in terms of the acceptance and like rejection, and I think that's what separates me from a lot of people who got into NYU. So first off, GPA. I had a college GPA of 3.95 out of 4.0. I did not have a high school GPA because I actually did not go to high school. I went into college pretty early on through an early entrance program, which I guess I could talk about in another video if you want. And I had an ACT score of 32 out of 36 with 35s in English and reading, a 30 in science, and a 29 in math. I also took the SAT, which I got a 1440 out of 1600 with a 780 in math and 660 with reading. I ultimately ended up submitting my ACT score only because I thought it was a better reflection of my academics. My most notable extracurricular activity was chess. And at the time I was applying, I had just crossed the 2000 rating threshold, which makes you a USCF expert. I was in the top 100 chess players for my age group in the US, and I guess I won a few tournaments here and there and placed high in a few state and national ones. I also founded and served as president of a chess club for 3 years. 2, I served in student government for 2 years where I organized events for the College of Engineering. For example, during midterms week, I spent my budget on these little goodie bags which I filled with school supplies and snacks, basically to help students power through midterms week. I also sat on the board of directors and various other committees to allocate funds to organizations and clubs and other events on campus. 3, I founded the Engineering Student Organization Council, which is an umbrella organization that brought all the student leaders from all the engineering clubs together to promote cross-club collaboration. 4, I was a public policy intern for the Pat Brown Institute, which is a non-profit organization that advocates for inclusive public policy and civic engagement, which has nothing to do with my major, but I did do something cool, which is help plan and run the 2016 California US Senate debate between Kamala Harris and Loretta Sanchez. And I just put it on for fun. 5, I was a Boy Scout with various leadership positions and community service hours under my belt. Most notably, I was a Life Scout, which is a rank below Eagle Scout, and I was the Assistant Senior Patrol Leader, which is the second highest leadership position. 6, I did a little bit of speech and debate, and I won a few awards and even attended a national debate tournament. 7, I played trombone for 4 years, served as the section leader for the Pacific Symphony Youth Wind Ensemble, and got to travel to Vienna, Austria to perform at the Summa Cum Laude International Youth Music Festival where we placed first. Alright, so now that you know my stats, I can talk about what changes I made to my original application to give it that extra push to the finish line. So the first thing I did was that I narrowed down my ginormous list of schools. I think I applied to 16 and I narrowed it down to 6 schools. And that way I could focus more time on each application. And another thing I did was I quantified my extracurricular achievements to sound more impressive. Before, I didn't have any numbers to back up my claims, but you know, when you have a number in a bunch of words, it really does work wonders. And the last thing I did was I took a narrative-based approach to my essays because I think storytelling is incredibly important. Like, you really want to draw them in to your story and make them understand your perspective on the world. For grades and test scores, aim for the top 1 or 2%. If you're in that range, you're solid academically and you're good to go. For NYU specifically, I think you should shoot for a 3.7 GPA, a 1500 on the SAT, and a 33 on the ACT. In my experience, the ACT is just a lot easier. To me, the SAT has a lot of esoteric questions, while the ACT is a lot more straightforward. And while there's less time per section on the ACT, that also means that the general caliber of questions are lower. So, in my opinion, go for the ACT, and to prepare, nothing beats going through a bunch of practice tests which you can find online. For extracurriculars, do not forget to quantify your achievements. Numbers make your app way more impressive, and remember you only have 150 characters of space for each activity, so do not waste any letter. And don't forget to use the title itself, which has an additional 50 characters of space. For essays, I think the most powerful ones are narratives. Nothing beats a good story, and a prime example is the college essay that got one of my favorite writers, Yehong Zhu, into Harvard, which I'll link below. Sprinkle in high-level vocabulary, and don't forget about words with non-English origins. I personally think that French and Latin phrases are extremely powerful if you can incorporate it into your writing. Vary the pacing. You can reserve an entire paragraph for just one sentence to emphasize one point. Feel free to go beyond the boundaries of English grammar, and you don't really need to use full sentences sometimes. Use alliteration, hyperbole, and vivid imagery in your prose. Appealing to a reader's sense of touch, taste, smell, and sight will work wonders. In general, avoid cliche topics like why your dad inspires you or hard to relate to metaphors about your life. And finally, I'd have to recommend starting your essays at least 3 months in advance, because you'd be surprised how that perfect essay you wrote 2 weeks ago is actually quite terrible, and you really just have to iterate. There's a reason why authors go through many cycles of editing before they publish a book. For letters of rec, reach out 2 or 3 months in advance and pick a teacher who can tell a concrete story about you, about your intelligence, about your leadership, about your character, and that will always beat out any teacher who may not know as much about you but has fancy credentials. Alright, that concludes my advice on how to get into NYU. If you need tutoring for any high school subject or the college application process, my friends and I actually started a small organization called Pathfinder Preparation, and you can DM us on Instagram at PathfinderPrep, or share your college essay with us at pathfinderpreparation@gmail.com, and we'll review your essay for free. If you want to know more in-depth explanations about my transfer application process, I wrote an article about it here, and feel free to check it out. So with that said, I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.